Hey, Lipton Productions. Today I was going to talk to you about Pterosaur or Pterosaur. This is your very vicious creature, extremely down. I signed postponing for our next one. So, here we go. Now, today I'm going to talk to you about a species of pterosaur called Hatzegopteryx. Now, Hatzegopteryx was one of the largest pterosaurs ever. In case you don't know what pterosaur is, if you do, I don't know what's wrong with you. But most people call them flying dinosaurs. Really, they weren't related dinosaurs. Well, they were related dinosaurs, but they're not dinosaurs. They're closely related and lived at the same time, but they were not dinosaurs. More proper term is flying reptiles. So pterosaurs, probably heard of them. If you didn't, this is a picture of what they are. Now what I'm talking to you about is even bigger. It was the largest pterosaur ever. There is debate about whether Quetzalcoatlus, who's actually a close relative of pterosaur I'm going to talk to you about, was larger or not. But most scientists say Hatzegopteryx and Quetzalcoatlus were about the same. Hatzegopteryx was the size of a giraffe. Which is pretty big. Now, not only was it big, but it's also pretty vicious. Now, there are several theories about what it may have eaten, and they range from it probing sand for worms, like some modern beach-day birds, other species size of giraffe, and shape of bill. That would work. It's just weird. Another theory is it would scavenge, which makes some sense, although it doesn't seem likely that that type of pterosaur would scavenge any more than other pterosaurs, which doesn't mean it didn't scavenge. It probably did scavenge some, but not too much. Now, another theory is it skimmed the water for fish, like the Atlantic skimmer of today. Just reached down and skimmed below. I don't know what this is. Like, this is bird's beak, lower beak, top beak. This is water surface. Reach down. Have the beak go below surface. Being catch fish. If a fish swims by and hits the beak, then the bird just swoops it up and eats it. That's what I think this guy might have done. That doesn't seem very probable. But then there's a theory of waiting, which makes sense. Waiting for food. This tall bird seems likely because of its legs and its long neck, so it makes sense. However, the waiting would only provide it with 5% of the needed energy for this bird to survive. That's a major flaw. But there is another theory that has quite a lot of ground. Now, this theory is that it is a terrestrial carnivore. The giraffe-sized pterosaur is a terrestrial carnivore. That's a very scary thought. Now, this holds lots of ground because these birds had well-adapted feet for the ground. It's weird since they're flying reptiles. But they would walk probably under giant, size of giraffe. That's scary, it's being flying over, snatching you up. But luckily scientists say it wouldn't snatch you up. However, it could probably run as fast as a horse. Of course, it was well adapted to the ground. So, a creature that can run as fast as a horse and is well adapted to ground can fly. That's pretty scary. But now let's talk about the flight of that creature. How did it fly? Such a large creature flying. Now, scientists have said such large creature couldn't take off. It'd be impossible. But, due to recent studies, it would have enough muscle, would be light enough to actually take off. And then once it was flying, probably travel for about 2 kilometers at a broad wingspan. However, scientists also say that based on other pterosaur fossils, this guy might have had narrow wingspan. That let it travel for 16,000 kilometers, which means basically this guy would have no troubles with geographic barriers. It could go wherever it wanted in search of meal. Now, to Quetzalcoatlus, that's discovered in Texas. This guy was discovered halfway around the world. Now, Quetzalcoatlus has long been thought to be the largest creature. Now, Hatzegopteryx is in the same family as Quetzalcoatlus and is very closely related, so which one's bigger doesn't really matter. Very similar, but I just prefer Hatzegopteryx. By the way, there are actually 2 species of Hatzegopteryx. Forget names of them, they both start with Hatzegopteryx. So, I'm just saying Hatzegopteryx. So, Hatzeg Island is an island full of these fossils of dinosaurs and very few fossils of Hatzegopteryx, but still, there are fossils of Hatzegopteryx. That's all we know this stuff. And Hatzegopteryx relatives like Quetzalcoatlus. So, Hatzeg Island, big pterosaur, probably big dinosaurs. Where's the island go to? Not really. They have actually found much smaller than normal dinosaurs. The Titanosaurs, type of sauropods, which are these long-necked dinosaurs. Giant creatures. Actually, one of them, Argentinosaurus, the largest creature ever to live. Now, the creatures that lived on that island, those Titanosaurs, those are small in comparison, not the size of a horse, excluding the length of the neck and tail, which would make it fairly long by today's standards, but not by those standards. The Troodons, raptors that lived there, Pyroraptor, Troodon, those would have been smaller than normal. The Guandons that lived there, smaller than normal. It was just an island full of miniatures. Miniatures of the creatures on the mainland, which are larger. Now, how did it get this way? Well, there have been several cases with something called island dwarfism. Now this is when a creature living on an island, or population of creatures, because there's less resources to eat, they just shrink. So they need less resources, can be larger. So that's what they think happened on Hatzeg Island.